From the heart of Virginia to the thrill seekers around the globe, welcome to the epicenter of sports betting bliss, the Gamblers Gazette Podcast. Join the dynamic duo, your host Michael and the legendary Uncle Frank, two generations united by the adrenaline of the game and the buzz of the bet. Dive into heart-stopping match recaps, top picks of the week, and betting tips that could turn your luck. Whether you're placing a bet, analyzing the odds, or just here for some hearty sports banter, Gamblers Gazette is your one-stop destination. Kick up your feet, tune in, and immerse yourself in the world of sports and bets.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the Gamblers Gazette. I'm your host, Frank, and I'm along with Michael, the great nephew, along with the legendary uncle. How are you, Michael?
Hey, I'm doing well. I'm also a legendary uncle now. You might not know it yet, but they might not know it yet, but I am a legendary uncle. Really excited this week. Has a great week of sports last week, and really happy that the Phillies were able to clinch and make it to the playoffs for another year in a row. Very excited to be with the family, going on vacation, so I'm going to be with my close family to watch the start of the playoffs, so I'm excited to get that rolling.
And get to see your new niece and nephew.
I know, I got to make them a Phillies fan. They're young.
For sure.
They're only 3 months old, but they're going to be rooting for Bryce Harper for sure.
Well, they already got the Phillies gear. We got that for them in spring training 6 months before they were born.
Yeah, they got a little Phillies fanatic, and then they got onesies that I think they're 6 months onesies, so they're just a little early, but after they win the World Series, it'll be perfect for them to try on after.
I like the way you think. Anyway, let's get into football. People are like, this is a football podcast, not a damn Phillies podcast.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll look at the NFL first. We actually did a little bit better than we did last week. I think last week we were below 500. This week we actually got to 500.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Did we have any good wins? Looks like we had a few. We had Minnesota, Green Bay, Colts, and Seahawks that we both got. And then we both got Kansas City. I lost a couple of over-unders, which that to me isn't too bad. Couple of losses here, though. I was surprised at. The Browns did come. Actually, the Browns won. The Browns beat the Giants. They were a 6.5 point favorite. Lost to the Giants. Giants looked pretty good last week, but I don't know if that's an anomaly. We'll see this week how they do. Texans, I also lost that one. And then the Cowboys, I was going to say got steamrolled by Baltimore, but they decided to play in the second half, made it close, but the Ravens hung on for a 28-25 win and covered. So, I believe you got that one. Did you get that one? No, we both had the Cowboys on that one.
We both had the Cowboys on that one, and I think you might have misspoke. You said that the Cowboys decided to play in the second half. They decided to play the 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's I think saying they played in the second half is more than generous because they didn't even look like a team in the third quarter. And then like you mentioned, the Giants beat the Browns. I'm not going to go place my money line bet on Daniel Jones anytime soon. I think it was a one-off win there, and I can expect them to continue their losing ways moving forward. But it was a good game to watch. They were actually able to put together some things, and then Neighbors looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, I have him in my second fantasy team, the one that you're not in, and he did pretty good. I almost got the overall points lead in that league.
I'll tell you one thing. I got the overall points loss in our league this week. Just a real rough one.
Your team was pretty sad. There was another team that had 3 guys get 0 points, and they still beat you. I think you play that team this week, but we'll see how you do. I think you'll be better this week. There's always those games during the year that your team stinks, so hopefully it'll be better. Let's get into college. College was a little bit better. Looks like we each had 2 losses in college. Actually, no, I had 3 because you had the nice SMU win. We both had that great Illinois pick against Nebraska last Friday night. Illinois was a +9. We both took Illinois in the points. Illinois won outright 31-24.
That was a great pick. And we both saw that one happening. And I think we really allowed our viewers to reap the benefits of watching the podcast because we got that one out early and it came true.
Yeah, that was a good one. Nebraska really hadn't played anybody. I mean, if you could say Colorado, but they steamrolled Colorado, who I don't think it's much of a team. Illinois is now ranked number 19, so they're in the top 20. They go to Penn State this week. That'll be one of our games that we'll discuss later in the podcast. But yeah, that was an overall good win. I think Nebraska's fine. I mean, the quarterback for Illinois played a great game. And, yeah, so they'll, like I said, Nebraska will be fine. Illinois, I'm kind of like to see who you like in that game when we get to that pick. But the one pick I did like that you had that I totally missed was that SMU shootout. Let's talk about that a little bit.
The Battle of the Iron Skillet. You know, it really takes being in Dallas, just like they wanted me to move here for my job to be closer to my work. I moved here to also be closer to these teams, and it really helped us. It really helped us in this case. I hear people talking about SMU every day at work. A lot of the colleagues that I work with went to SMU, graduated from there, and they really have high hopes. And I think another thing that was missed when we were originally talking about this game is that the former coach for TCU went over to SMU before this season. So there was some bad blood there. And then even during the game, he wound up getting ejected at the beginning of the second half from arguing with the referee too much, which is pretty rare. It's like almost watching an umpire eject a player. But this occurred in a football game.
I missed that. Was the head coach for TCU got ejected?
Head coach for TCU got ejected, yeah, which used to be
Sonny Dykes.
Yep. And he used to be the head coach for SMU.
Okay. Yeah, SMU just looked really good. They have a guy named Edwards scored 4 times, and then their defense had 3 defensive touchdowns.
Man, 60 points. There was 100 points put up in that game.
66-42.
Yeah, it reminded me of almost like JMU versus UNC.
Wow.
Putting up 120 in their game.
Wow, 70 points against a Power 4 school for JMU. I do have a little surprise pick for JMU that we'll get to in a bit. But I do, real quick before we get off this game, I have the history behind the Iron Skillet. So in 1946, an SMU fan was in the TCU parking lot at the home game and was cooking up frogs' legs. And of course, the TCU fans didn't like that.
Of course.
So what they decided was whoever wins the game, that person got the skillet and the frog legs. So that's where the Battle of the Iron Skillet came, 1946.
That's the most Dallas, Texas thing I think I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, is that? I thought that was a good one. I had to do the history for that. After we talked about it, after I cracked myself up 3 different times last week talking about it.
Yeah, and speaking of my great pick, you also had an awesome one. That Rutgers versus Virginia Tech game. I mean,
Rutgers.
There you go. You really picking the homer pick. I mean, we always talk about like with the Eagles, but you know your football when it comes to Rutgers.
Yeah, I mean, Rutgers, though, a Jekyll and Hyde type of team. I don't know if that was so much how good Rutgers was or as much as it was, I'm just not digging Virginia Tech this year.
Yeah, me too.
We said last week we just haven't seen them play well. Rutgers did get up 23-8 late in the game, and then Tech did tie it up, and I'm like, oh no, it was 23-23, but then we got the field goal to secure the win 26-23, and I took the money line. So yeah, we both took money line on our picks this week and won them. So yeah,
Did you parlay any of those picks together this week?
Yes, I did 3 of our picks that we did last week. I did Moneyline, Rutgers, West Virginia, and Tennessee. And then I also won another parlay, a 4-game parlay. I took the Heisman Trophy candidate leaders. I took Mississippi, Miami, and there's one more I'm missing.
Well, we can jump into it here.
It was Tennessee, Mississippi, Miami, which is Cam Ward, Nico, which is Tennessee, and then I threw Iowa in there for good measure. Had nothing to do with the Heisman leaders, but anytime Iowa plays Minnesota, they always kill them, and this was no exception. 31-14, Iowa beat them. So yeah, I cashed 2 tickets this weekend.
That's awesome. Well, if you guys follow along, like and subscribe, you can get bets like that every week as well. Start cashing tickets on your end. But yeah, let's move into this Heisman Trophy leaders. Not really much of a change last week. The only thing that we see here is Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe swapping places, which I would say I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm a huge Jalen Milroe fan, but nonetheless, keeping the top 5 here the same.
I think Alabama was off last week, so
yeah,
that's why that usually happens. It'll iron itself out as we move along in the season. But yeah, Jackson Dart put up another 50 points. Cam Ward, that Miami team, put up another 50 points. Miami goes to Tech this week, I believe. And I see Cam Ward probably putting up another 50 points. Yeah, he's just playing well. I believe he also won the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy in FCS at Incarnate Word. So he could be one of the first people, or maybe the only person, to get the Heisman in the FBS and the Heisman in the FCS.
Wow, that's awesome. And also want to just mention, as an honorary candidate, number 6, we have Quinn Ewers still hanging strong there. Last I heard, they're working on getting him back and strong for the Red River rivalry that's going to be coming to Dallas here pretty shortly on October 12th. That, right? No, I have tickets for October 19th, which is going to be Georgia versus Texas. So the 1 seed versus the 2 seed right now.
Nice.
I don't foresee that. We'll get into that in our picks, but I don't necessarily see the Georgia still being the 2 seed at that point. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll discuss that in about 10 minutes here.
Yeah, let's look at
those picks.
Yeah, well, actually, let's take a quick detour into looking over at the rankings that we have currently for the college football. Texas still hanging strong there. Didn't really have much of a game this week, but watching Archie Manning play has been great so far. So any chance to watch him crush a team is always a fun time. But staying strong at number 1, and Georgia staying strong at number 2.
Okay, yeah, that, like you said, that Georgia may change this week. Could go up, could go down. We'll see.
Yep.
It looks like, yeah, all the rest of them stayed. I think, actually, when we were talking about this poll last week, we had Missouri dropping down. I think, did Missouri lose, or Missouri didn't? I don't see them. Oh, there they are at 11.
Yep.
I'm looking at it with my bifocals and old eyes. It's like going to the eye doctor. Oh, wait, I can blow that up.
Well, we also had Michigan make a little bit of a change here. I think last week they were number 18. They got all the way up to 12 with a win over USC. So
right.
Just terrible offensive line play by USC.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. That game shouldn't have been close. I mean, Michigan shouldn't have won it.
Yeah.
The offensive line was atrocious for USC. And is that attributed to great defensive play by Michigan? Partly. But if you watch the end of that game, USC had 4 guys rushing, 8 guys back to not give up the big play, and they were getting in on the USC quarterback every single time. Michael and I were yelling at the TV because we had USC and Michigan showed up last week. Yeah. Or USC didn't show up as well as they should have.
Well, we'll see moving forward. All right, let's jump into these picks. Starting off with another one of your homer picks with Washington versus Rutgers here, with Rutgers being a 2.5 or 2.5 point favorite here. What do you see in this one?
I see Friday Night Lights. If you ever been in Piscataway at Rutgers Football Stadium on a Friday night, which I have, it is unlike no other feeling. It's a great game. You got Washington coming to across the country, playing their first away Big Ten game. Little history on this one. Really not history, but the coach for Washington, head coach, is a Jersey guy. Name is Jed Fish. He's from Livingston, which is about an hour north of Piscataway, up near New York City. So kind of a homecoming in sense for him. He'll have friends and family there, I'm sure. But I think the Minnesota transfer quarterback for Rutgers, Kakmanis, is completing 62.5% of his passes for 646 yards, 6 touchdowns. And this name I butchered last week, and I looked up the pronunciation. Kyle Monaghaney is averaging 152 yards a game, and they have 3 wide receivers over 100 yards. Rutgers has the 29th ranked defense in the country and the 20th ranked offense in the country.
Wow.
Now, with all that said, Mrs. Washington also has some guys that can do well on the offensive sides of the ball. They have Will Rogers, who's a transfer from Mississippi State. They got a decent running game with Joanna Coleman. But I like Rutgers here. I think Rutgers can move the ball on Washington, even though Washington's ranked 11th in the country on defense. Who do you think the defense coordinator is for Washington? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Steve Belichick.
Really?
Bill Belichick's son.
I didn't know that.
He has them at number 11 in the country. But I see this being a big test. I'm going Rutgers here again for their first 4-0 start since 2012.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, it's hard to pick against Rutgers right now. Rutgers is proving to win week after week, 4-0, and until they show me a loss, I'm going to have to continue with them. So give me Rutgers at -2.5 here. Just really hoping they can finish a game and not allow a comeback, kind of like they did last week, even though they did close it out in the end.
That's a thing. That's like any of our teams, whether it's a Philadelphia team or Rutgers or Tech, they can never close it out. They always have to make it like where you're biting your nails and you're having a heart attack, and then they finally win.
Absolutely.
But
let's move on to the next one here. We got Maryland versus Indiana. Indiana is a 7-point favorite here, and they also have an over-under of 53. Do you think this is going to be a high-scoring one?
I would say yes, but there's going to be some weather in Bloomington this weekend. Probably some remnants of Hurricane Helene, which is going to be hitting the Gulf Coast tomorrow. 70% chance of rain, some wind. Indiana's going for their first 5-0 start since the year I was born, 1967. They haven't been 5-0 since then. They have a quarterback named Curtis Rourke, who he's one of 26 players with over 1,000 yards passing, and he ranks 3rd in the country just behind 2 Heisman Trophy candidates, Dart and Ward, in pass per attempt at 10.7 yards. So this kid can throw the ball. Will weather kind of inhibit that a bit? Maybe. But Maryland really hasn't shown me much this year. I mean, they haven't really played anybody, and then they did lose to Michigan State, which I don't know how good Michigan State is either. But it's hard to go against Curt Cignetti. Everywhere this guy goes, he's a winner. He was at Elon from 2000. Actually, no, he was at UIP from 2011 to 16. Then he went to Elon 17 and 18. Went to JMU for 4 years, and now it's his first year at Indiana. Give me Indiana -7 here.
Nice pick. Yeah, like you mentioned, the 27-24 loss for Maryland versus Michigan State is the one that's making me a little iffy about Maryland in general. On the other note, Indiana really hasn't played anyone either. I mean, FIU, Western Illinois, UCLA, and Charlotte are who they went against. Meanwhile,
UCLA played LSU tough last week, so that win becomes a little bit more intriguing as a good win.
yeah.
But you're right, the other three teams, not much competition. And Cignetti knows that. It's also the opening schedule of the Big Ten. But I think he'll have his team ready.
Yeah, well, I'm taking Indiana at -7 here, and I'm also going to take that under. That's a great insight because I was thinking about the over, but the insight, first of all, 53 is a lot of points, and then I think one thing that we see consistently year after year is weather playing a big factor in these early season games. So yeah, give me the under 53 and give me Indiana at -7.
Yeah, I'm going to go under here as well, just because of the weather. And that could change, too. So I may change my position on Saturday morning, but right now it looks I'm pretty confident of the weather being pretty crappy.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. We got Louisville versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame looking great recently. They're at a -6.5 point favorite. We got the 15 seed versus the 16 seed in this game. So two ranked teams battling out. But, after an early loss from Notre Dame, I'm really seeing them starting to hit their stride. I'm having Notre Dame winning this one by -6.5 here. Riley Leonard looking way better settling into this offense. I think he's able to fight and hopefully get into that top 10 before playoff time.
Yeah, Notre Dame has won their last two after losing to Northern Illinois a few weeks ago. They beat Purdue and they beat Miami of Ohio. Not much competition there, but they won. I mean, Northern Illinois wasn't much competition, we thought, but they got beat at home. Riley Leonard's got to play good. He's been playing good the last two games, both rushing and passing the ball. He has 6 rush touchdowns this week. So they also have they did lose this game, though, last year at Louisville, 33-20.
I remember that, yeah.
With that said, I think Notre Dame is out for revenge at home. I think they'll be ready. Now, Louisville also has a decent quarterback named Tyler Schrow, who's completed 68% of his passes for 850 yards,
wow.
Mostly to a guy named Ja'Cory Brooks, who has 17 catches for almost 300 yards.
Is Ja'Cory Brooks a wide receiver? Or is he...
Ja'Cory Brooks is a wide receiver. Yeah. But again, weather could play a factor in this game. It could slow the track down. I still like Notre Dame here. Is it -5 or -6 now?
6.5.
6.5. Yeah, give me Notre Dame here. I don't know if they found their stride against the competition. This will be a truer test against a number 15th ranked team. But I think ND gets it done at home, -6.5.
Well, I don't know. Don't blink, but I think we're 3 or 4 for 4 with a total agreement here. But let's move into our next one. We got Arkansas versus Texas A&M, with Texas A&M being a 4-point favorite. What do you see in this one?
This one, let me see. Let me pull up my notes here. All right, so Arkansas beat Auburn last week 24-14, which was actually a good win. They go to Texas A&M this week, who's also hitting their stride after having that off week against Notre Dame at the beginning of the year. They beat Florida, and they beat Bowling Green last week. Both games they won in the last 2 games is with a backup quarterback. Their number 1 quarterback got hurt September 7th against McNeese State. He could be back this week.
Okay.
But I think A&M ranks 59th in total defense. I do like the quarterback for Arkansas, a dual threat guy, Taylon Green, who's kind of the college equivalent, well, maybe not equivalent to Lamar Jackson, but has that good rush ability, able to escape the pocket. But A&M, again, ranks 59th in the country on defense, home crowd. I like A&M here, -4.
Yeah, the the home crowd for Texas A&M is a real big difference. The 12th man out there. I will say though, there's some wins on the Arkansas side that are looking great. I mean, they beat, like you said, Auburn. They lost their one loss is a 2 overtime loss against Oklahoma State, another ranked team. So, I mean, they've played some great teams. Texas A&M lost to Notre Dame on opening night in a real so the final score was 13-23 in that game, but that was way closer than that shows. So this is tough for me because I like Texas A&M, but Arkansas's. I like to base a lot of my stuff off of record, and Arkansas's record, in my opinion, is better, and I think that they're more poised to take this one home. So give me Arkansas at +4, and honestly, I apologize. Can you tell me what your pick was again? I wasn't paying attention. A&M. Okay, so we got differing on this one.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the next one. I was trying to find out. I knew.
Paying attention.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to find out who Arkansas. I know they beat a ranked team, but I couldn't remember if it was who it was. So I was trying to find that.
Did they beat a ranked team, or is that the Oklahoma State they just lost to?
That's Oklahoma State that they just lost to.
That was a fantastic game. That Oklahoma State played like crap on defense. That was the game. Taylon Green, the quarterback for Arkansas, was doing all kinds of running and wide open lanes and just no defense.
Yeah.
So,
well, we'll see.
I think it put up a little bit more of a fight, so we'll see what happens. But I could see that pick.
Yeah.
Your pick.
Well, it sucks if this loses because I do like Texas A&M because I used to be a Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans fan.
Don't say that too loud.
I know. Mike Evans mainly. Let's move on to the next one here. We got Fresno State versus UNLV. This is nearly a pick'em game with UNLV being a 1.5 point favorite.
This game opened at -4.
Wow.
It's down to -1.5, like you said, and it could go off at a virtual pick'em. So it's the Fresno State UNLV Rebels fighting for the Mountain West supremacy here. Quarterback for Fresno State, Mike Keene, again, just like the quarterback for one of the quarterbacks we just discussed. He's one of 25 guys who has 1,000 yards as well, throwing the ball. And Mac Delaney, 18 catches, 431 yards, 3 scores. So UNLV's got to limit that duo.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the name Randall Cunningham?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was way before your time. UNLV is 3-0. The last time they were 4-0, 1984, 40 years ago, when Randall Cunningham was the signal caller.
Wow.
At
That's
UNLV.
crazy. Wow.
That's the last time they had a 4-0 record.
Wow.
I see them getting that 4-0 record. Fresno State has played well, though. The only loss they have on their schedule is to Michigan.
And they played them well.
And played them well. They covered in that game.
Yeah.
We both took Fresno State in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think UNLV is going to be a little bit tough here at home in the desert, 101 degrees on Saturday afternoon when they play. Give me the Rebels -1.5.
Ooh, man. I don't know. This is gonna be the 1.5 is very accurate in my opinion. It's nearly a pick'em game.
It's gonna be a good game. That's why I picked this one. This one's kind of like Fresno State and UNLV, but they're actually playing some good football.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna take Fresno State. I'm gonna take Fresno State money line. 1.5 doesn't offer me enough value here, so give me Fresno State winning this straight out, flat out win here. I might eat my words later, but, their defense is just so strong, so disciplined. They held New Mexico State, even though New Mexico State's not a great school, they held them to 0 points. They've played some good teams in Michigan, and I definitely think that they're able to win this game. So give me Fresno State.
Would this change your decision at all, or you're going to stay with your pick? UNLV is scoring 41 a game and giving up just over 14.
I think that helps my decision. I mean, they're
scoring. UNLV is scoring 41 a game, and they're only
not
going
to do it this game.
Okay.
And I think 14 wins it.
14.
For Fresno State.
You think 14 points is going to win the game? UNLV's going to put up like 50.
I don't think so.
I think UNLV's going to
I don't think anybody...
I see a high-scoring game, actually.
I don't think anybody puts up 50 on Fresno State.
Well, maybe not 50. I was exaggerating, but not 14.
We'll see.
About 14 before the fans sit down in the stadium.
Well, okay. If you want to say that, what the over/under is 48.5. You going over?
Over.
Okay, I'm going under. We're adding that to our picks for this week.
Okay. Was that one of our over/unders?
No.
Or did we just add it? All right. So then we'll skip the other one that we have.
Okay.
All right, next game we have
Game of the week.
Game of the week, Georgia at Alabama. You give me your thoughts here first.
I don't think Georgia's very good. I don't think Georgia is as good as the ranking is at number 2. The game against Kentucky was very iffy. They looked rough. I don't think that this is going to be the standings afterwards. I think there might be a little bit of a leapfrog action, and Alabama moves from 4 to 2 after this week. So, yeah, give me Alabama at +2 here.
Can you believe this is the first time since 2003, since you were a 5-year-old, that Nick Saban wasn't on the sideline for this game?
That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. And this 74th meeting, and this will be Kalen DeBoer's first meeting as head coach for Alabama. Last time these two teams met, another great game, SEC championship last year. Georgia won 27-24, so that's where they're coming up with that -2. Mm-hmm. Alabama has not been a home dog since 2007. Give me Alabama here +2.
Yeah, I mean that's almost.
The only in my notes here, the only thing I could see that could be a positive, and Georgia could come out and win. They almost got beat by Kentucky. They had a scare 2 weeks ago. They had an off week last week. Usually, an off week, teams are pumped to come out. They got them some things straight. Kirby Smart, one of the best coaches in the country. He's going to have the team ready, but Alabama at home with Milroe behind center. I like Alabama.
For sure. And Alabama's crushed everyone they've played. And Georgia simply has not. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. I think this one is pretty straightforward. This one is my favorite pick of the week for an opportunity to win some cash. Illinois is not getting beat by 18 points to Penn State. I'm clipping this, I'm putting this into a TikTok, and I'm going to show us winning this pick afterwards. Not even close. It's going to be way tighter than that. Illinois is going to be right next to Penn State the whole time. Penn State doesn't impress me. Illinois impresses me a lot.
Penn State impresses me. I mean, Penn State's a good team. It's a night game, Saturday night, whiteout crowd in State College. But 18 points is a lot of points after we just saw what Illinois did to Nebraska. Nebraska's not a bad team. It's not like Nebraska has played, they played Colorado, like I said. I'm not quite sure, so I might eat my words if I misspeak here. But that was a test, and they went in last week at 9-point dogs and came out with a win.
And we picked it.
And
I even said they were going to win. I didn't say they were going to cover.
Yeah, and the Penn State, I mean, I get it. I get the point. I mean, Alar, 862 yards, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions so far this year. And I said that at the first podcast we had, they were going to open up the offense, and they have. I mean, when have you seen a quarterback for Penn State have double-digit touchdowns at this stage in the season? Usually they're a run team first, and then they throw it when they have to. Kind of opposite this year. That might be where they're coming up with 18. Can't say it. Give me +18 in Penn State, +18 in Illinois here.
If I had one thing to tell everyone this week is, if you're watching this on Thursday or even Wednesday night when this comes out, go and hammer this line before it changes. People are going to be dumping money on Illinois.
Was it money on Illinois at that? I mean, that's double what it was last week, and they won the game.
It's crazy. Unless there's a major injury we're missing, which I did research and it's not.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't see anything. If somebody pops up on the injury report,
rethink it, but I didn't see one. So,
you know what? I misspoke. I said the quarterback for Penn State has 862 and 10. It's actually the Illinois quarterback, which makes me want to go with Illinois even more.
What is happening?
Alar's no slouch either, 729 and 8. So sorry about that. And somebody pointed out last week that I called Caden Fegan a wide receiver. He's actually a running back, pretty good one with 242 and 3 so far. And Pat Bryant is the wide receiver with 6 scores. So thank you for correcting me. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. And watch Penn State win 52 to like 10 or something.
Yeah, this one is
see it.
This one's mind-boggling, and it's there's another one when we get to the NFL that's similar. But let's move on to, I believe this is the last college pick of the week. SMU ACC matchup here, 6-point favorite. I'm going to go right ahead and make the picks. I don't like Florida State in general. I don't think they're that great of a team, and I think that this minus 6-point favorite is easy covered. I think that SMU is able to win this game by at least 6 points, and the home team here is able to get another win.
Yeah, SMU showed me something last week that I didn't know they had, and then you have Florida State, who barely beats a Cal team 14-13 at home to get their first win.
Another ACC matchup, I think.
Yeah, I think SMU hammers Florida State. Yeah,
absolutely.
Not much more to say there. Real quick, before we go to the pros, I'm going to Harrisonburg this weekend, JMU and Ball State. It's a minus 21 for JMU. Who do you like?
JMU minus 21.
Yeah, after putting up 70 on UNC. Did you see the interview with Mac Brown, the coach for UNC, after the game? I swear I thought he was gonna cry, or it was like his dog died. 70 points, and if you watched that game after halftime, there was probably about 1,000 people in the stadium. Yeah. I mean, there was just no defense, and I mean that's a ACC school, and JMU is a good team, but JMU struggle with Gardner Webb at home and just barely won that game 13-7 and go down to UNC and put up 70.
Yeah, and so, I also read that JMU was paid to come play there. That UNC paid JMU, as teams do, to go play that game and to get crushed. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that used to be an FBS matchup, and I guess they just kept it in the schedule, but
it's the communication in the helmets.
Sunbelt going to ACC and blowing them out. And they scored 50, UNC, but at that point, JMU had like fifth stringers in. So
yeah. Let's move into the NFL games.
In there. Okay.
First game, got an Eagles pick. We also got an over-under here. Eagles are 2-point favorites versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the over-under of 44. What are you seeing?
Let me see. Jalen Hurts better get his head out of his butt real quick. If it wasn't for Saquon Barkley the last 3 minutes of that game last week, they lose that game to New Orleans. And they just have not looked really sharp. And again, the coaching. You had a great take last week about Sirianni. Barkley actually let Sirianni coach another week, because I really think if they lose that game last week, Sirianni's gone after, again, 2 weeks in a row, passing on a sure field goal attempt and going for it, not getting it, but then decides to go for a 60-yarder at the end of the game and not even close. But then Barkley rips off the long touchdown and, everything's okay and, kumbaya and rainbows. I'm going Bucks here.
Yeah.
+2.
I just don't get it. I just don't get the thought process of what's going on. I mean,
I don't. And this is how 2023 ended last year.
It is.
I don't get it. And we have a different coaching staff. But we have the same head coach. What does that tell you?
Exactly. We found the issue. I'm watching the game. So I went to the bar. I'm in Dallas. I'm by myself. So I don't know anyone here yet. And so I go to the bar and I watch the game. So I'm hyper focused on it because I don't want anyone talking to me. So I'm watching and I'm like, I turn to watch another game. I turn to watch another game. I turn to watch another game. And then every time I look back, we're in the red zone. But then I look back again and we have 0 points. What is happening? Why are there no field goals being kicked? Why? What is the thought? How many times did we go for it on 4th down in the red zone? And we didn't get it any of the times. We didn't score any of those times. We needed a field goal every single one of those times, and we didn't take it. I don't get the thought process behind it. I mean, the reason we're winning these games is because Jalen Hurts. And you said he needs to get his head out of his ass. Jalen Hurts is helping us win these games. He's dealing with terrible play calling. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, all these guys are contributing to making us win, even though their leader is making horrendous decisions. I'm still taking the Eagles here at -2 because I really think that there's going to be a conversation in this off week that allows things to get back on track. I hope so.
You're seeing a different Jalen Hurts than I am. I'm just seeing indecisiveness. I'm seeing kind of a little bit of regression. I'm almost seeing like a Virginia Tech type deal. They're just not passing that eye test, and I think he's just. And yeah, I get what you're saying about play calling and all, but I don't know. I think everybody has to get better, and that starts from the top on down.
Yeah, I think the issue with Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is that he is his entire career as a quarterback, as a person, probably all the way up into Pee Wee ball, is that he is used to using his legs to get out of situations, and now he's getting older, and they're trying to avoid that, and so I think that's where he's looking lost. But anyway, we got to move on from this game.
Real quick, but you had mentioned last week a couple of, I think it was Will Levis and how you got to learn from your mistakes. Sirianni does not learn from his mistakes.
Yeah.
That call in the game before this one, who did they play? I can't even remember who they played.
The Falcons?
The Falcons.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then you come back and you do it again. Yeah. I don't get it. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, we got to pick over under 44 in this one. I'm taking under 44.
Me too.
All right. Moving on to the next one here. Going to be a great one. With the Vikings versus Green Bay. I had a great pick last week. Vikings beating by a lot the Texans, even though Texans are playing great and everything like that. Sam Darnold is looking excellent, and until Sam Darnold falls from his glory and Jefferson falls from his glory and Jones falls from his glory, I'm taking Minnesota in this game to plus 2.5 points. I mean, they're getting points here.
Was that another Pat McAfee moment?
No.
Oh, you were just saying you like Jones. Oh, until they fall off. Yeah. Yeah, that was a good pick by you last week. I took the Texans, I believe, over the Vikings.
Yeah. Aaron Jones going back to Green Bay here.
Yeah, I like what Malik Willis is doing with Green Bay. They really don't have to rush Love back. Love was on the possibly able to play last week, and I was like, why would you even push that with the way Willis is playing, the way Jones is playing? They have 4 great receivers. I do think, though, Minnesota might be a little tough, and Jones coming back to Green Bay. I'm going to take Minnesota plus 2.5 here.
All right, full agreement here. Minnesota plus 2.5. Let's move on. Steelers versus Colts. First time we're picking a Steelers game this year. They're starting off 3-0, minus 2-point favorites here. What do you see? And this is a tough one.
Well, I mean, Colts at home. They played okay last week. Did they lose last week?
They won last week.
They did win last week.
You lost last week.
No, I got them both right. We got them both in the green. -1. We got
okay.
it. And the Steelers, just not much of offense. They're winning their games on defense.
They're 3-0.
Justin Fields does enough or played actually pretty well last week. Richardson played horrendous last week. I think he had 3 picks again, but they won.
Yeah.
But the guy needs to know where and when to throw the ball. And it's going to be a long day, I have a feeling, for Richardson and the Steelers defense. So give me Steelers -2 here.
Ooh, I'm going to take the Colts at +2 here. A little bit of opposing picks here. I don't know, man. I don't know. I really want Richardson to. I might just be a homer. I really want Richardson to come around and start playing well. I really want it
too, but I don't think it's gonna come against this really good Steeler defense.
I guess we'll see. I got Colts at +2 here. We gotta start making some wins in these games. We need to get above 500. We're doing excellent in college, not so hot in NFL. Moving on to the next one, another first-time show up on our docket this week. It's going to be the Washington Commanders versus the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are 3.5-point favorites here. What do you see?
What do you see here?
Jaden Daniels is playing excellent
against the Bengals.
Yeah, against the Bengals. I will say Bengals are not looking. They're not passing the eye test in my opinion this year. But Washington.
Because what's his name? What's the name of the quarterback? Jeff Burrow.
Yeah.
Made his hair blonde and he looks a little girly.
Yeah, well, I'll say another thing is you guys made fun of me in my fantasy pick for that pickup of number 80 on I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try.
The dude from Princeton. He's from Princeton, actually.
Yeah, he's from Japan.
Elvis or something like that. I know I butchered that, but
yeah,
pretty well. He's doing better than Higgins.
He's doing better than Higgins, and I picked him in the 15th round, and everyone was like, "Who are you picking?"
Everyone. Your uncle asked you, and you said, "Oh, I can't really get on somebody for picking them in the 5th round. If you picked them in the 5th round, I could give you a hard time."
Well, considering I only scored 60 points last week, I might need to play him. But anyway,
holy cow.
I got Washington winning this one. Not winning. I got Washington covering this one at +3.5. Jaden Daniels is looking great. McLaurin is looking great. McLaurin is. I saw a stat. I don't know how many quarterbacks it was, but since his time in the league, he's caught passes from an insane number of quarterbacks, and this is probably the best one I've seen in a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, McLaurin, I think he was high to be picked in fantasy this year just because of Daniels. First 3 weeks really didn't show, or a couple weeks last week did.
For sure.
But I think Bengals defense sucks. Mm-hmm. I think Cardinals are a little bit better. I think going on they were in Cincinnati last week on a night game, so didn't affect Daniels one iota. Had over 90% completion rate. I think he was 23 for 25.
A night game and a Monday night game, like
on the road.
A focused game, yeah.
So give me the Cardinals -3.5. Pat McAfee.
That's a Pat McAfee moment.
Yeah. Huh. I think it's gonna be a little different this week. I think Cardinals play a little bit better defense. But this kid is the real deal. I mean, he could come out and do exactly what he did in Cincinnati. But I think Cardinals are a little bit better, and Cardinals at home. So, yeah, give me the Cardinals at -3.5.
All right.
Give it -3.5.
Moving on to the next one here. 49ers, tough loss last week against the Rams. They're a 10-point favorite here versus the Patriots. They're getting some of their weapons back for sure. Do you see them winning this one by at least 10?
I pick this game because we always have real close games, and 10 points is a lot of points in an NFL game. The key factor in this game is Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy kind of reminds me of Tom Brady. It really doesn't matter who he's throwing to. He finds the open receiver. Some guy named Juwan Jennings last week had 180 yards and 3 scores. I mean, he's like the third wide receiver. He's only in there because Debo's out, CMC's not playing.
He threw a touchdown in the Super Bowl last year.
Yes, he did. That was somebody gave me that trivia question at work.
Yeah.
Him and somebody else did it. I can't forget. Threw one and caught one in the Super Bowl, and he was one of two. Patriots going across country.
Nick Foles was the other one?
No, not a wide receiver. So it's a wide receiver who threw a touchdown and a wide receiver who caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
I wonder if it was Edelman.
Can't remember. We'll have to look that one up. And so come back next week. We'll have the answer.
It's a good one.
I like San Francisco -10 here. Real quick, did you hear CMC was in Europe this week?
No, I didn't.
He went to Germany to get a second opinion.
That's interesting.
That does not sound good.
No.
So for you Jordan Mason people who have him on your fantasy roster, I mean, he's going to be out at least till mid-October. That doesn't sound too good. That sounds like it's going to be much longer. So we'll see.
I never heard of that. Going to Germany.
He was in Germany this week. He's back now, but he went for second opinion. Having all kinds of calf issues and Achilles issues, and can't have that when you're trying to cut.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, in this game, give me the Patriots at +10. 10 points is a lot of points against this team. I think they're able to. They don't have much on offense, but I definitely think they're able to stay closer than 10 against the hurting and missing pieces of San Francisco.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. Going to be a great one. This is the one I mentioned that I don't really agree with the line.
Yeah, I don't get this one.
Buffalo versus the Ravens. 2.5-point favorites for the Ravens on this one. We also have an over-under of 46.5 here. What do you see?
Josh Allen played really well against Jacksonville, but is
Excellent.
Jacksonville really bad? I don't care even if you have a bad defense. Guy put 37 points up in the first half, and basically I think they coasted with their starters in the parts of the third quarter and then sat everybody after that. This guy is so good. I don't want to hear that, well, we still are going to get the Mahomes is better. Mahomes is only better because he's won the big one. That's all it comes down to. If they just played regular season games, Josh is hands down the number one quarterback, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Going to the Ravens, I don't see it. I'm not even going to talk much on this. Give me Buffalo money line.
Oh, money line. Give me Buffalo at +2.5 just in case. But yeah, I agree with the money line, and I'm also going to take the over here. I mean, these are 46.5. I think that these teams are able to put that up easily. I mean, the thing is, Josh Allen is such a great quarterback that he's making do with guys. He lost his receiving core. I mean, he's making do with Kincaid and Dawson Knox, obviously, and then Shakir is their number one receiver.
Shakir, Coleman.
Yeah. I mean,
Cook is having a great year out of the backfield. He's also rushing the ball well. This team hasn't lost a step, and that's what good teams do. Kansas City's done it the last few years. Buffalo's doing it this year. Tom Brady did it his whole career. Brock Purdy's doing it this year. These good, elite, above average talent, not even above average, superstars, find ways to win. I don't want to hear, I got new guys and Diggs is gone and It's funny because Gabe Davis was on the other sideline in this game. Didn't do shit. And he's probably watching Allen and thinking, man, I wish I was back in Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't know. His paycheck might say different. But anyway.
Lawrence, as good as Allen was, Trevor Lawrence was just as bad.
Terrible.
He's not good this year. I don't get it.
He's terrible. What is the what do you have for the over under here? 46.5.
I like over.
Okay.
I like over just because it's Josh, and I think Baltimore can put points up too. Because Buffalo's defense is kind of a little depleted as well.
Yeah. All right,
look
moving
at this
on.
game, a -1 for us.
This is about the only game that I think that the Dolphins could be favored in.
Are you sure
-1.
that's right? Because I thought the Titans were favored.
Not when I checked right before game.
All right, let's go with that then.
Yeah. So Dolphins at -1. What have we seen in this one? Will Levis versus Thompson, I think, is the guy's name.
Thompson got hurt. Skylar Thompson got hurt. Some guy named Boyle.
Oh, he's better than Thompson.
I don't know. He was on the practice squad last week out of Eastern. I believe he's out of Eastern Kentucky.
Don't think he'd get much worse.
This is kind of like a fantasy team. This is kind of like when we pick Josh Allen or we pick Mahomes, and we're like, oh, we're good with them. We're going to win our championship until they get hurt. And then we look at our bench and we're like, shoot, we don't have another quarterback. And then you go to look to see who's on the waiver wire, and there's nobody on the waiver wire, and you're screwed. That's the position Miami's in. You know, I only spent $100 to lose. Not to do that. But Miami, I don't know what they were doing. They have really no backup. They need somebody. I heard now I'm hearing things about Flacco. I'm hearing some things about, there was somebody else. It was Flacco and somebody I read today. Can't remember who the other guy was. But they need somebody because the guys they have aren't going to do it. And if Tua knows what's good for him, he's not coming back for a long time. So they need to figure it out quick. And with that said, give me Tennessee and +1.
Yeah, give me Tennessee at +1. As bad as Will Levis is, I think he's able to win this one. And I also do want to say, I did confirm just now, it is Dolphins at -1, so that line flipped. So, yeah, give me Tennessee at +1. I don't like this game really at all. It's gonna be a tough pick here.
Yeah.
Right.
And all you Tyreek Hill people who probably took him with your top 5 pick and Waddles, and I mean even A-Chain is affected with the crap quarterback play because all you got to do is put 8 guys up front and just stop the run. These guys aren't going to hit anybody.
Exactly.
So this team, a team that was so
dominant,
had so much firepower on the offensive side of the ball is really, I mean, just look what Tua does. And he gets a bad rap in fantasy because he always goes like the 15th quarterback. But they need a good quarterback. Yeah. Flacco might be a good fit.
I don't know, man. I think anybody's a good fit right now. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to speculate anymore because when I was editing last week's podcast, I started getting on my nerves how much we talked about it. So we can move on to the next one here, which I don't even know exists. Oh, okay. I think this is the last one. It's Lions at -4 versus the Seahawks. This is gonna be a good game. I think the Seahawks are playing excellent. DK Metcalf is playing awesome.
Yep.
I mean, Geno Smith is. I'm a fan of Geno Smith for years. He's just finally getting his opportunity. He's been a backup for everybody, and now he's
been playing well now for 3 straight years.
Yeah, I know.
In the right system.
I know. I like it a lot. So I honestly, I'm taking +4 for the Seahawks here until they show me different. It's kind of like the Vikings. Until they show me something else, I like them.
Detroit at home. Is this a night game? Is this a Sunday night game or a Monday night game?
I think it might be. It's a Monday night game at 7:15 at Detroit.
What's up with the 2 Monday night games back-to-back weeks?
Yeah, I think that happened last year too.
Detroit Monday night. Give me Detroit -4 at home.
We'll see.
It's a good defense too.
Yeah.
Detroit is a night and day team, home and away. They're so good at home, and they're
so bad
on the road. I mean, they had a nice win in Arizona last week.
Yeah.
So, and they covered. I called that one, unlike some people. Yeah. So, give me the Lions at home -4 here.
Nice. Well, I think that concludes our picks for this week. Feeling confident?
I feel good with the college. I don't feel good with college. The NFL is just it's a business, right? I mean, you have these stars that make all this money. Anything can happen any week. It's like what I say. It's like college, you kind of know what you're going to get, like the Georgias, the Alabamas, and the Michigans, Ohio States. Any week, and we see it, and we saw it last week, any team can win in the NFL.
Sure.
How about, congratulations to Carolina and Andy Dalton for their first win last week.
God, what a...
I don't know if I texted you. I may have thought it and not texted you. I was going to say it does pay to have a quarterback that knows what they're doing. I mean, they scored like 30, 40 points, 37 points.
Yeah, it reminded me that, I mean, he was the first quarterback this season to put up 300 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which I think was broken right after that by maybe Dak. But it was like a night and day, and I was like, I had to like stop myself and say, hey, I forgot Deontay Johnson's a good wide receiver.
Yeah, Deontay, the most benefit are these guys. Deontay's probably happy, and I think, you know what? It's a demotion right now for Young, but we're so accustomed now to having college quarterbacks come right in and play. That never happened in the past. Even up until 10, 15 years ago, you had guys sitting behind guys like a Peyton or whoever for 2, 3, 4 years. Maybe not. I mean, first round picks, yeah, you want to put them in right away. But some guys need to learn. Now, Young, I don't know, even with the learning, I just don't think he's big enough. I don't think he has the good arm. But I don't know. So I would take this opportunity for him just to sit behind Dalton. Dalton's a fantastic quarterback. Learn from him, absorb it, and meanwhile, Carolina fans, you should be happy you didn't do what Miami did and not have a backup.
Yeah, exactly.
Backup plan.
Exactly. Dalton's getting older there, but he's so experienced and so
good. Over 300 yards, 3 scores, and just. Deontay went over 100 yards, had a score, and yeah, everybody did well.
Adam Thielen had a long touchdown pass.
Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders driven touchdown. I didn't even know Miles Sanders was on that team anymore.
Yeah, and Adam Thielen.
And Thielen, yeah, he's on IR now, but
he caught a touchdown and didn't come back.
So I'm happy for them because it sucks when your team is decent, but if you have a shitty quarterback. Your team is crap.
Yeah, for sure.
Good for them.
All right.
Anyway, so I'm confident with the picks. I say that every week. And, like, subscribe, and let's boost the viewership.
Sounds good. Or I'll play us out, and look forward to talking football with you next week.
Sounds good. Everybody have a good week, and happy picking.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gamblers Gazette podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. While you're at it, help us spread the word by leaving us a rating and review. But that's not all. Subscribe to our exclusive newsletter using the link in the podcast description and get the lowdown on daily picks and an in-depth breakdown of each game right in your inbox.